Good morning, everybody. It's Mary Beckman. Here we are. It's Metaphysical Meltdown on a different day at a different time. So it's your morning edition. So all of you guys can either watch cartoons or you can watch Pete and I. I'm so excited to have Paranormal Pete with me today. We're going to be talking about the ghosties and about the conference that he does, etc. I just want to tell you quickly, hold on, I got to connect in just a second. So I have been taking a very nice, lovely Facebook and social media break. Might come back on another day, probably next week sometime. I just needed to go outside and clear my brain about all the craziness. Luckily, next week we have some great people coming on, and I'll say their names right now. On Tuesday, we have Mo and Aaron, energy and metaphysics, energy devices, a little bit of activism. On Wednesday, we have Joy, who is going to talk about her very interesting new energy system. And this is about prison and justice and just really change. So I cannot wait to explain more about her. I'm not going to do it. She's going to explain it because she's got something really fabulous going on. Okay. And then we have Fran on Thursday, and she was at Standing Rock. She's all over the country talking about different things that are going on. She's an exciting person to listen to. And at that point, I believe that's it for next week. So 3 awesome people next week. So we are going to welcome right now this lovely gentleman. His name is Pete Orbea. I have been messing his name up now for a while. So thank you so much, Pete, for coming on. I can't wait to hear about you. Can you tell us just a little bit about what you do right now?
Sure. Well, thanks for having me on. Always look forward to doing these kind of things. And I'm with Port Gamble Paranormal. I live in Port Gamble. So a little bit about what I do today is my day job is I run the weddings and events in Port Gamble, which aren't really happening right now.
Right.
Understandably, but so that's kind of my day job. And I've been leading the ghost walk tours and public paranormal investigations here in Port Gamble since 2011. And I get to do the Port Gamble Ghost Conference. I get to put that together every year. So, I've been working a lot from home lately, and that's been working out pretty well. And I get to spend more time with my kids, which is fun. But that's pretty much what I'm up to right now.
Thank you so much. I was lucky to be part of the Port Gamble Ghost Conference last year. Had a great time. I'd never been in that town, and it's not that far away from where I live. It is extraordinarily beautiful there.
I love it. It really is a step back in time, especially if you like East Coast history and architecture. I mean, you step right into an old New England town, and one of the coolest parts I love is in the fall when the leaves change. A lot of people say it looks like New England out here, and it's because all the trees were brought in from Maine over 100 years ago. And so they're actually from New England. So it really does look like a little town in Maine here.
Oh my gosh. Well, I hung out in a few places there. We had, we went through one of the old stores, the double level one.
Yeah, the general store.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that was great. And then we went to the graveyard, us being who we are. It was myself and Marty Angeloni. We had to go to the graveyard and pay our respects and walk around in there and take pictures. And it's so beautiful, though. The moon was extraordinarily big, and oh my gosh, it was just really neat. But I have to say, we took a class with Seth Michael. That was right up there.
Nice.
And I know that you had a reading with Seth, and that's what opened you up. I was reading about that. Tell us about it.
Yeah. Gosh, this was at the Oregon Ghost Conference, and I think I was on my way to being opened up, and Seth kind of kicked the door down, let's say.
Okay.
So I'd never had anybody do a psychic reading for me or tarot cards or, any sort of reading before.
We lost you.
At this time.
Oh, there
and
we
Seth was offering a special at the conference there, and I thought which was interesting, and it was intense. I'll tell you that it
go.
was. I've never. It's. I don't know if I'll ever feel that intense again, as far as energy. But yeah, it changed my life. Had some really cool things that came through, and I kind of left there punch drunk for a couple days, and I had a hard time trying to figure out what was going on, how I was feeling, and but he said, just pay attention and learn about this and look within, and had my good friend William Becker who kind of helped me after that, and um, we talk a lot about what I was feeling or experiencing, and he kind of helped guide through that. But I think Seth definitely kicked the door down for me.
It was really fun to listen to him. So Marty and I were sitting in his class, and I could see that she was drawing somebody next to me. I think people have heard me tell the story. So she's drawing somebody. I look behind her. There is the somebody. There's the guy. I look up on the wall. The guy's painting is up there.
Oh, geez.
It was it was off. It was odd. Yes.
Was it? That was here in Port Gamble.
Yeah, it was a downstairs
Yeah,
class.
in the conference
Yeah.
rooms. Yeah.
It was down there, and it was a man with a beard and dark hair. And
Uh,
so I just basically just went. I had my mind blown that night anyway, because I was sitting in the audience listening to the platform speaker, whose name escapes me.
who would have been speaking that evening? Was it the gallery reading?
The gallery reading. What is
Yeah,
her
that
name?
was
She's a long name.
Nkasha.
Yes.
Nkasha Menti. Yeah.
Yes. And I thought she was great. And I heard my name called outside of my head. And I flipped around, and Marty flipped around looking at me. What? She says that it wasn't. It was outside. I later knew who that was, but all kinds of stuff happened, especially in the event center. I saw all kinds of cool stuff. And it's really fun to go to those conferences if people have not been. So I've been to yours, and then also the Oregon one. And
Yeah.
what is that little city? I can't ever remember. Seaside, Oregon, which is really
Yeah.
beautiful. That's such a nice place too. And that's a nice conference run by Rocky, and I can't remember his partner's name.
Well, he has a whole committee.
Okay.
And like Kristen Gray's on
Yeah,
there,
he's
and
was.
and Holly. Yeah, a bunch of people. I love that conference, and it's cool. I'm glad that I was able to meet them and make that connection years ago, because I feel like our two conferences complement each other in a lot of positive ways, and it's opened up, I think, a lot of avenues for people that weren't there before, and it opened up a lot of new connections for me, new friendships, and another world to dive into.
Yes, I love it. One of the most important things for me is I just go to be a reader, or that was what I did the last 2 times. I was just a reader vendor. I think I taught a class at one of them, but I love to hear all of the speakers, talking about the spirit boxes or the history or there's so many different things. I love the debunker last year. I can't remember that guy's name.
At the Port Gamble conference?
Yes.
Well, I think you might be thinking of Dr. James Nelson.
Might be, yeah.
Yeah. I think he had some things on skepticism in the paranormal.
Yeah, that was really fun.
Yeah. That's one of my favorite parts too, is getting to see all the different personalities and what they can bring to teach people.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we got to have an open mind. So I like to hear all the parts to it.
Exactly.
So the Ghost Conference was scheduled. Yours was scheduled on what date?
November 6th through 8th of this year. We're kind of changing gears with this wonderful year of 2020 that we're having. And so we lost our venue, which was the Point Casino and Hotel, and so I've been kind of scrambling around, but I think we're still going to be able to put together something that's really fun, where people can come learn and have some fun doing it. So we're still going to be doing investigations like we normally do. We get to investigate 7 different locations here in town, which is awesome. 7 active locations. And so we'll still be doing that Friday night and Saturday night of the conference. We're looking at having a gallery reading with Nkasha Friday evening, so on the 6th, because one of our venues here in Port Gamble is available that night, but it's not available Saturday and Sunday. So we're going to do Friday night event with investigations, and then looking at having possibly a paranormal boot camp, a workshop for 2 of the days, Saturday and Sunday, and then also working on a psychic workshop, so that there's kind of something for everybody if you want to pay more attention to the intuitive side, the metaphysical side. There's something that you can take and learn, and then go out and investigate at night and have fun. And then there's also the investigative tactic side and tech side of things, and critical thinking on investigations. That's what the paranormal boot camp. So if someone likes more of that style and that's what they want to pursue and learn, there's opportunities there. And I'm still working on a couple more details, but I hope to have all that out soon.
Great. That sounds really fun. So the 7 places. So that's not something I was able to go do when I was there. I didn't have any gas left. The time the end of the day came, I had to, become horizontal. But what are some of those locations, and what can you tell us a little bit about what's going on there? Because what I did notice, I just want to say this, is somebody told me when you drive into the city, you feel different. It happened. The energy is so different. It's just it's like a odd little funny vortex or something.
Yeah, and that's, wouldn't be the first time I've heard somebody describe a vortex or a portal or something. It is definitely interesting, and I've lived here since 2007, and I still get that feeling when I've gone out and done something and I'm coming back home. I still get that feeling, and I've tried to figure out what is that feeling, what is causing that, and I still don't know. I've tried to look at ley lines, to see if maybe that's got something to do with it. Unfortunately, the ley line geological maps seem very inconsistent, so it's hard to say what's what. I know there's a lot of quartz in the bedrock here. That could be part of it, but I'm not sure. There's a strong Native American history here. I think that's got something to do with it.
I think so too. That's a deep piece.
Yeah, long history here. And I think that's probably a big part of it. And the other part of it too, I think, is just that the town is, through all the changes it's gone through all the years, there used to be 900 buildings. Now there's about 400 buildings. Now there's about 50. So it's gone through a lot of changes, but it's intact still. And so I think that's got something to do with it too, that it's intact and the buildings are maintained. They're still being used. It's not like they're all sitting just closed. So yeah, I'm trying to figure out, your guess would be as good as mine at this point, and we may never know. But yeah, it does feel different. And museum is one of the places we get to investigate, the historic museum, and I love that place. There's so much cool stuff down there. Things that the company retained over the years or families donated. So, I mean, everything's, original down there, and there is activity down there. And so I love investigating down there. It's usually kind of off the radar for people. But I've had quite a few experiences down there. And so I just love investigating down there. There's various spots in there. It's not all over the place, but there's some various spots in there that you definitely know there's something going on when you walk in there.
So what company are you talking about that established that town?
So originally it was Pope and Talbot, and they started the Puget Mill Company, and that's what this was called, the Puget Mill sawmill that was here. And so those guys came from Maine, and all the original workers for about the first 15 years, 10, 15 years came from Maine or the surrounding, East Machias, Maine or the surrounding towns. And so they started here, and um, they ran the mill until 1995. So it opened in 1853, longest running sawmill in U.S. history. It ran for 142 years. A long time to think about what all the history that they experienced during that 142 years. And then most recently, so after the mill closed down, the company kind of changed names to Olympic Resource Management, and then Olympic Property Group was launched. That's who I work for. And so they were charged with kind of saving the town. After the mill closed, everyone moved out. And, so they were charged with saving the town, and now it's, a fun place to come. People come from all over the place here. And even more recently, our company merged with another company, and with another timber company. So the town is still owned by a timber company. It's called Rainier Inc. And so they merged with Pope, and we're all still here. So
So
happy about that.
okay. Did you live there before you found out you had abilities, or did you move there specifically?
No, I moved here. Gosh, I was here probably 6, 7 years before that. Yeah, I was definitely drawn here. My wife was working here at a business, and then I ended up working at that business too. And we decided, why are we commuting from where we were living? Why don't we just live there?
Right.
And we've been here ever since.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I don't blame you for wanting to live there. It's so nice.
Yeah.
Well, so you felt drawn there, definitely. But
Yeah.
so when you take people out for tours, you've got
Mhm.
7 places to pick from. Um, I would also tell my tiny little story is that when Marty and I were walking around in the morning, um, I had to go find the restroom, and I missed the best thing. So she's taking some photos. Did you see the photo of that beautiful face looking out of the window?
Yes. Yes.
That's the most perfect picture ever.
Yeah, that was a really interesting one. I've seen people send me photos a lot, and I thought that one was pretty interesting. Yeah, yeah, she sent it to me. She said, "Oh, you got to look at this,"
Yeah. I was like, oh,
and you missed it, right?
I missed it. Well, that's what happens, day late and a dollar short.
Oh
But
yeah,
I just feel like I had enough of just feeling the vibration, though. And I mean, when I look at the vibration, you can just like see it around that area. I mean, just it just you can see it, you can feel it. I think everybody should go because it's a beautiful place. There's bed and breakfasts there, are there?
well, there's a couple of VRBO privately run vacation houses, and we call them the guest houses,
Okay.
and those get rented pretty quick for the conference.
Oh yeah.
They might already be rented, but there's an Airbnb like right on the edge of town. And there's the Point Casino Hotel that's not too far away. If there was a bridge across the bay, it would take like 2 minutes to get there. um, so
Can you
there's
arrange that?
yeah, that would be cool. And when the tide's out far enough, you can almost walk across the bay.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, and so there's lots of places around. And if people are looking for places to stay, you can go um, to wasanctuaryshore.com, which is North Kitsap Tourism Group. And there's lots of lodging specials there. And also you can go to portgambleweddings.com and check out the vendor page. We've got a whole list of lodging places.
Okay.
So,
And
yeah.
something about a new building. Was there a new building now?
Well, that's the pavilion.
Okay.
And that's where we do the bulk of the weddings and receptions. It's on the bluff looking out towards the straits. And so that's the Hood Canal Vista Pavilion. That's where we're planning to do the gallery reading for the conference this year.
Oh,
Um, and that was built in 2009. So that's the newest building in town by like 60 years.
okay. Well, no wonder they told me it was the new building then.
New.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my gosh, I used to work with brides for years when I was a florist. Boy, yeah, that's a job. You got to love those brides. They, they are worried. They want their day to be absolutely perfect. And that is a nice venue and such a beautiful view. I mean, my
Thank
gosh.
you.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's easy to work there, I'll tell you that.
I bet. Well, I hope I can come to this and it's November. What date?
November 6th through 8th.
November 6th through 8th. I hope I can come.
Yeah.
I'd like to come again and try doing some of those. So the 7 buildings, let's go back to that. What are
Yeah.
the 7 buildings?
So on my regular tour, there's only one building, 2 of the spaces that we get to go through. But during the conference, we get special permission with some of the business owners to use them. So St. Paul's Church is one.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, I don't know, I don't know if I'm really supposed to promote it, but it's I feel like one of the more active locations in town. And then we've got the museum, of course, the post office building, which on the basement floor was the town's morgue for many years. And it's got the post office in there and the theaters in there. That's just a really interesting building. If you ever get to spend some time in there, just go sit on one of the benches on the first floor and just hang out, see what you see.
Okay.
And then, so there's a house called the New York House, and it has a business in it called the Painted Lady. And they've been kind enough to let us come and investigate the past couple of years. That's one of the oldest buildings in town, and it was the doctor's house for decades.
Okay.
It's where the town hospital was
Mm-hmm.
until late 20s when a real hospital opened up in Port Campbell. So that's always an interesting spot. We used to investigate the Jackson House. I'll have to see if I can get permission for that for this year, but that one's a really active location. We've had a photo of an apparition taken there. All these places, I couldn't even tell you how many pieces of audio have come out of these places and personal experiences. There's another house called the Drew House, which is another really old one here in town. We got to go in there for the first time last year. That's an interesting, they're all interesting. I'll just say that.
Mm-hmm.
The Masonic Lodge, getting to investigate in there has been, I feel very, very privileged to be able to do that and to work with the Masons. And that's going to be one of the areas for a workshop this year.
Okay.
We'll be in the Masonic Lodge, and then hopefully at night we'll be doing the investigations in the lodge, which is just, I'll tell you that if you haven't been in there, that is such a beautiful room that they have. Their Mason, in the temple there. It's so strange. It was built in the 1870s, but it looks like Art Deco
Oh my
in
gosh.
there. Yeah, it's really cool. And then, of course, then there's the Walker Ames house, and that's probably the most well-known location. So on my tours, we get to go through there and spend a little bit of time in there, and I take everybody through, and we do a little investigating as we walk through. But I'd say that house has been life-changing for me in a good way.
Okay.
And it's just beautiful. It's a beautiful home. It's probably the most fanciest house in the town, and probably the most active out of all the locations. Or I would say that it's the least active with real living humans. So that might be why there's more activity there.
Okay. So when you said it changed your life, and you also said the picture that Marty took, the photo, that was the Walker Ames house, wasn't it?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yep.
So you must know that gentleman isn't usually there. Was he just passing by?
Well, that house That's a good question. Um, I have not been able to determine that the entities that hang out there, I believe that some of them live there,
Hmm.
but I believe some of them come and go.
Okay.
And I believe that to be the same case in what used to be the hospital. There seems to be kind of a path
Hmm.
coming from towards the water that goes right. I mean, those houses are in line.
Hmm.
Um, there's many people that talk about the camper down elm tree that's out in front of the Walker Ames house, and it's right next to a fire pond. When that fire pond is actually the footprint of the hospital that used to be here,
Okay.
and was the Ames house first for about 30 years, and then it became a hospital. So there's this tree that was put out in front of when Ames built his house in 1900. A lot of people talk about very strange energies there in surrounding this fire pond. And if you look at where that tree is, the Walker Ames, you could basically make a line back to the hospital, the doctor's house.
Hmm.
And then if you just keep going, there's a place that's out in front of my house that we call the plateau. And there's a lot of energies up there, and there's just nothing around. It's just a plateau at the top of a hill. And those are all in line. And so I don't know if things come and go through there. To answer your question, I'm not really sure. The house is like, um, to be cliche, it's an onion. It's got many layers.
Okay. Okay.
and,
So
and so, yeah.
all roads lead to your house, huh? They're all coming to your house.
Well, God, no, not necessarily in here. I got my own things that happen in the house that I don't think are related to that part of town.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I think things do come and go in that house. So that what she got in there, in that photo, I'm not sure if it's somebody that's usually there, you know, or someone that's just passing through. So
So why was that place life changing? Is that just because you learned the most from it?
yes, that's a great way to put it. Um, I had a lot of experiences growing up. Um, I was open to it and kind of knew what was going on with experiences. Just didn't know why I was having so many experiences growing up. And then it didn't take long after being here to where I became a believer. It's still try and remain. It's a challenge to remain skeptical, but fortunately, I have lots of friends who are very skeptical, and so they can help keep me in check. But it's definitely a place I learn the most from.
Yeah, I actually think we should be very skeptical. We should,
Right.
because there can be some valid reasons. I mean, especially I mean, if you think about all the ships in the sky, I
Right.
post I post everything because I want people to feel it in their heart. Is that a ship or is that that one of ours mainly? you know, um, and so I think it's best when you go into a place like that to are you sometimes I though is well just my most recent thing that happened to me I think was going uh upstairs in a really old antique store,
Hmm.
and the higher I climbed up, the more dreadful I felt in my chest.
You're like, should I be going up here?
And I knew there's just a lot of activity up there. So I came back down and I found my husband Tom and I said, "You should probably go up there."
Yeah, go on up. Yeah.
Going up, it's great, yeah. But I just think the other. I guess was it last Christmas? Maybe this Christmas, last Christmas. I can't remember. Time is odd, but here there's a place around my house that
Mhm.
my dear friend who's watching, she was filming out in this area in my garage. There are orbs everywhere, blue ones and purple ones and big ones and small ones, and just it was
Mm.
so active, and so I hope everybody on here knows that the beings are always around us. They're just always here.
There's always somebody around, that's for sure.
Yeah, from a lot of, really from a lot of realms too. Do you believe that?
You know, that's something I would say it's a little easier to be skeptical in regards to that stuff with me because I don't think I've experienced as much, but I'm totally open to it. And I feel like in my own psychic journey that I'm on, things change. Where I get my information from is changing. And I feel like it's moving more up and out is where I'm getting my information from. Somewhere out there in space.
Are
It's
you talking
hard to explain, but
is it your higher self you're getting your info from?
well, you know, that's a good point. I never really thought about it like that. I've I feel like I don't necessarily feel like that's the case yet, but you know, I'm sure I'll progress towards that. But I feel like I've had the realization this last year of a dream that I had a lot growing up, and there was these certain beings that I would see in these dreams, and now I'm kind of realizing that that's where I'm getting information from is from these people.
Okay, so your whole life you've probably been surrounded by certain beings protecting you, loving you, giving you the information and helping you.
But I didn't recognize what it was until you know, until I met Seth.
So
yeah.
do you feel comfortable talking about that?
Yeah.
Well, who are they? I'm on the edge of my seat. I can think I can see there, but well.
So I'll just describe. It's a recurring dream that I've had probably since I was probably 7 or 8, when earliest I can remember. And it's just these beings, and they have like these robes. I'm a huge Star Wars fan, so it's kind of like a Jedi robe to me is what it looks like. But you can never see their face really. And I feel, and they're always off the ground about like that much, like they float, and I feel like their skin is a light blue color, and they have really long fingers.
Okay.
And they basically just stand like this with their hands and their long fingers, and they don't say anything, but they're just there, and they've kind of got their head down, and I just feel like I'm standing in front of a panel basically.
Lovely. Well, good to meet you, my galactic brother.
I'm trying to learn about it.
Well, gosh, I would love to chat with you on our own, definitely. So
Okay.
So the thing I was laughing about when you were telling your story is my friend Melanie says, "Oh, he's a galactic," which is definitely true. I love how they come through in dreams to support us. And, you know, we certainly can call them. You can call them and say, "Could you be with me today?" Do you ever do that?
Yes. Yeah,
Oh.
that's something I think just in my own learning process that I'm starting to figure all those little parts out, you know, putting the little pieces together. I still feel like I can get information how I have previous, where it's really more empathic and it's right through the guts and it's very earthy. You know, I used a horse that was a guide for me for a while.
Oh my gosh.
So it was very earthy and organic, but now it's just kind of changing where if I get information, it seems to come in more through here than my solar plexus as it used to. That's how I feel energy still. But yeah, just hit you like a punch in the gut. But I feel like, you know, as things progress and I'm just trying to be open-minded and remember that, you know, we don't know Jack and anything's possible.
Yeah, that's my MO. It works for me
anything's
because
possible.
I don't. Yeah, I don't know, Jack. No, you have a very kind heart, and you're such a solid guy that I can see.
Yeah.
Definitely, but definitely, if you want to talk to your guides, I could hook you up.
Yeah, that's something that I think, and maybe I don't know if you struggle with it too, or at least I feel like I'm a rookie,
Oh
you
yeah,
know, you know,
you.
um, and so I feel like there's a lot to learn, but I don't know. We just all have to find our own process,
Mhm.
and I feel like seeing and hearing and really knowing my guides has always been a challenge. Other people, easy.
They see yours. Is that what you're saying?
Well, no, that I see
Oh, you
other
see theirs. Oh,
people's
gotcha.
guides. I can see that fine
Uh,
and communicate, but seeing my own,
hmm
and I think that probably has to do with a lot of self-doubt. Hey, I'm looking at myself here.
hmm
Is that really what I'm seeing, or is that my, imagination? And so for me, it's been challenging to really see and get to know and learn how to use better communication with them. But with other people, it's easy.
Yes. And do you wonder ever? Because I remember I thought I knew something for about 5 minutes, and now I know I don't know anything, which I like it better that way actually, because it's fun to learn, I think.
Yeah.
It's fun. Do you ever wonder though that you are veiled until the moment you're supposed to see what is, you know, go higher, go higher, go higher, and then once you go higher, it's actually you. No, but I'm just saying is I think you're kind of veiled to the point where it's time for you to see it. I think. I don't know. What do you think of that?
I I mean that makes sense. And the way you put that, I think it makes sense in my head.
Okay, so let me ask you this. This is what
Mhm.
everybody's on their chair about. Um,
Mhm.
when do you actually do readings? Do you do a
Yes.
process with
Mhm.
people?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been doing readings for 6 years. 6 years for people other than friends.
Okay.
So that's why I say I feel like a rookie. So much to learn. Yeah, no, I do readings for people, and all different walks of life.
Okay. Well,
Um,
just getting to know you a little bit today, I
mhm.
think I've lost fingers on all the different things you do because you're kind of a rock and roll guy.
Yes,
Then
I
you
have a band.
then you do something with all that signage stuff behind you. Then you're the guy who does the bridal work. Then you're the ghost dude. You read
Yep,
people.
yep.
You put on the conference. Have I missed anything? Your dad, husband.
Yes.
Okay,
um,
that's a lot. You're a busy
oh,
person.
you forgot one thing. Future millionaire.
Ah, awesome. Somebody was talking about just view money around you or something. I always forget to do that. I feel like if abundance is going to come, I don't know. I feel abundant. I don't
I don't
know.
know. This time of morning on a Saturday morning, I'm not really feeling abundant, but
I know. I'm still drinking my grape juice. You
and
know,
thank you for accommodating my work schedule and doing it on a Saturday. I appreciate that.
no, that's totally fine. I've been telling people we like to do 2 o'clock, but we'll do any time with people because this is kind of a crazy time right now. So
Yeah.
do you do you foresee though, I mean, can you kind of foresee that you will have the ghost conference when things kind of open up a little bit in the future? Do you think we're going to have it again like we did before?
I think next year it'll
Okay.
be it'll be more like what the full conference with speakers and vendors and full complement of classes. I next year.
Okay.
This year I'm hopeful. I'm going to move with forward and continue to plan, um, and keep everything in order as best I can. But of course, we're going to be keeping an eye on how everything goes from a public health standpoint. And if we need to, for everyone's safety, we'll postpone or cancel. Either way, we'd give everyone refunds, obviously. But with I feel like there's a lot unknown with who knows what's going to happen by November.
Right.
But next year I'm planning to have the conference in Port Gamble at the Pavilion. So that's where we'll have speakers and vendors and stuff. So I
Oh,
blocked I blocked it off so there's no weddings. There won't be weddings.
okay.
And so that's kind of next year, 2021. I think it's November 5th through 7th. And so that'll be more of the traditional type conference that we've held in the past. But this year uh, we're just doing workshops and investigations, and we'll have some fun. Everyone has a ton of fun on the investigations, and we're just going to roll with it. But if we have to cancel, we will. We want to make sure everyone's safe, obviously,
Right.
and everybody protect themselves. It felt so bad for Oregon Ghost Conference and Rocky, but it was obviously the best call to make. And, I'm certainly prepared to do that too.
Yes, absolutely. Are you guys in phase 2 in Port Gamble?
We are in phase 2 of reopening, yes.
Okay.
And
That's where we are.
hoping that we can continue to progress. We'll see what happens in the next couple weeks with all the mass gatherings and protests going on out there. Hopefully that, I'm nervous that that's going to slow the reopening down. So.
Yeah. Can you tell people though a little teeny bit, if you are going to have the investigations, but you're also going to have a stage speaker? Can you tell us a little bit about Ankasha? Because I felt like she was really interesting. She did a great job.
She's awesome. She has been a staple of the Port Gamble Ghost Conference from the beginning. And I met her my first year working for the town and doing the conference. She is very passionate. She has a huge heart, and she loves what she does. And I just think she's fun to be around. Her readings are pretty cool. Not it's tough to do a gallery reading, and she gets up there. She's super experienced. And whenever she does a gallery reading out here, she usually fills the place up. She's got so many people's lives that she's touched in her work, and so a lot of people come out for her readings, and we love having her out here.
So can you explain to people what a gallery reading is?
Yeah, so I think it varies between people how they do it, but
and names too.
Yes.
People call things, yeah.
What's that?
People call that type of thing platform reading, platform mediumship, gallery reading.
Yeah.
To explain it, it's like John Edwards does. I'm being pulled over here. It's kind of like that.
Yeah. You're basically, you get up in front of a group of people and you try and do whatever you can to see if there's messages to be had for anybody. Because if there's a message, chances are they really need to hear it. And so, that's what she does. She really explains and lays out kind of how she does things and why she does things a certain way. The gallery readings I've done have been smaller, but I think everybody approaches them a little differently. I've enjoyed them. Very nerve-wracking leading up to it. but once you get yeah, exactly. And and then you got a bunch of people staring at you. But then once you get going, then it's usually feel a little bit better. But I feel like I've been lucky enough to be doing the tours for, I guess, 9 years now, to where I feel okay speaking in front of a group of people. And that does help. But So a gallery reading for, I mean, what she's going to be doing, typically like an hour to an hour and a half. I think it depends on how much comes through. And anybody who does readings, you know that sometimes not much comes through. Sometimes a ton of stuff comes through. So you know, just depends on what's coming through. But I think gallery readings are really cool because, you know, obviously you may not get a reading during the gallery reading, but I think it's interesting watching other people get a reading.
Mm-hmm.
and and you know, maybe someone who's not open. I believe we all have psychic gifts, but for those who, you know, aren't open yet, I think they can feel things off of what's going on in a gallery reading, and it can be an opportunity to help open someone's mind that wants to be open. They just maybe don't know how to do it, and so just seeing somebody else get a reading that's validated can be a really interesting and rewarding experience, even if you don't get a reading during the gallery reading. Does that make sense?
It sure does. Yeah. And sometimes I think that the folks on the other side make things known in a way that other people can kind of pick up on it and say, oh, I'm going to take that home with me. That made so much sense, you know? And I do feel the same way you do. Sometimes they're having a big party up there and they don't have time to come to us. So sometimes the info is less. Sometimes there's, you know, less going on up there. They all come down and talk. It's odd.
Yeah. Yeah. Or they're busy helping. They're busy helping somebody else.
Absolutely, because that is
You
what
know.
they do. I mean, I'm thinking that's what they do.
Yeah. Yeah. I've had many readings where I could see somebody, and they're there, and then they're like, okay, gotta go,
Yeah.
and then I gotta go to this person, and then they're gone. And then I'm like, well, they left.
And then there's nothing. The silence is deafening.
Yeah, I don't
Like,
know.
is anybody gonna come? Well, luckily there's you know, yeah, but oh my goodness. Well, I tell you, this has been really fascinating. So how do people find you?
Yeah, you just go to portgambleparanormal.com. That's got, you know, the ghost tours, investigations, and that's where conference information is. I've also got some evidence gathered from some investigations up on there. So people want to hear some really interesting disembodied voices and stuff like that. You can find all that on there. There's a button for if you wanted to book a reading. I also have a site called readingsbypete.com that I might let expire this year and just combine it all into the Port Gamble Paranormal website. But that was one that I started when I started doing readings. So that's another way to get a hold of me, is through there. And happy to do, you know, readings seem to come in spurts, at least for me. I'll go a couple months hearing nothing, and then all of a sudden a bunch of people want readings. I don't know if it's the moon or what. But I can do them, especially in these social distancing times. You know, I'm trying to do a lot of Skype or Zoom video call readings, or just over the phone.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm excited to help people, and that's what it's about for me.
Absolutely. So now I remember the questions I was going to ask you too.
Oh yeah, great.
Who can you explain
Mm-hmm.
spirit boxes? And
Okay,
what do you think about that? Do you use anything like that?
I have one.
Okay.
I have a SB7, and that's kind of, you know, I think probably the most common one you find out there. Spirit box, intertrans communication. Um, you know, I wouldn't say I'm a tech expert, but it's using radio waves to communicate, possibly with the thought that those on the other side can use the radio waves and the frequencies and, in a sense, tune in, and to be able to get their voice out. Maybe I think those who like to use spirit boxes from the other side to communicate with, they probably don't know how to get their voice out, or they haven't learned that yet. So that's a way for them to do that. I do realize it's a pretty controversial piece of equipment. It's, you love it or you hate it. I think it's one of those devices. I think you love it or you hate it. Um, I have always been interested by it just because of some of the responses I've gotten out of them before, and experiences I've had, and I've been fortunate enough to do a lot of that work with Mary Bethune from Olympic Peninsula Paranormal Society. She's been working with intertrans communication for a really long time, and so I've been able to be a part of a lot of sessions with those, and I'll tell you, I think there's something to it. I wish there was a better way to validate, what's coming through, whether it's is it coincidence or not? Is it I know what the answer is, so I'm thinking what the answer is in my head, and then my thought puts it out through the radio? I wish there was a better way to validate, something that you think might be a piece of evidence. Either way, it's interesting. I've had some interesting responses to things, direct questions. And I like to use it, but I also, this is part of the remaining skeptical part. I think it's great to use, but I also, I don't know if I could 100% say that if I really got something on the spirit box, is that really 100% credible evidence? And just from the perspective of, you can't truly validate it. It's more, it becomes a personal experience, what you're getting through there. But I certainly like to use them, especially in the Walker Ames house. It can be fun, but I don't do long sessions with them. I keep it nice and short because the noise kind of gets to me after a while. So I can only imagine what the noise is for those on the other side.
Yes.
So I try not to do too long of a session, maybe like 5 minutes, and then hold off for a while. But I think it's definitely an interesting communication tool, and I'm certainly open to the possibilities of people tuning in and coming through from the other side that way. So, I mean, I don't think we should shut off that avenue just because we don't know for sure or not that it works, because it might work.
It might. I love that you're respectful to the other side. I think that's very important. The other
Try to be.
Yeah, we have to be because it's going to be us. It's been
Yeah,
us.
right. Yeah.
So the other thing though is what you said is I totally believe that once you pass away, you sort of have to learn how to navigate being on the other side, just like we're learning how to navigate being in this dimension.
Yeah, I think the creators of Beetlejuice movie, I think they were onto something there.
See,
There's
I didn't see that movie.
Oh my goodness. You need to watch that movie
All
and see how it lines up with how you feel things work for you.
right. Okay.
There's basically stations that people go to learn how to be a ghost, how to be a spirit, how to utilize your new self, your new self. So, I mean, if you look at Leslie Flint and those recordings from England, early to mid 1900s, or mid 1900s. Now there's a lot of skeptics and a lot of critics of his work, and I think some of it is warranted. But a lot of the spirits that he claimed was coming through, and they're coming through audibly through a phonograph, they're talking about similar things, that there's a station that people come, and then there's those who help the newly entered spirits, and I think there's something to it. Again, until I experience it, who knows really for sure, but that's what I think, and I feel that way from some of the entities that I've communicated with too, that they're learning things but haven't learned everything yet.
Yes. Sort of like I've learned to knock over the salt shaker, but I can't do other things yet.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And we have the access to learn everything that we could ever want to or not. So some spirits may just, they don't care. They're fine with what they are.
Oh my gosh, you could say that about all of us right here on this planet.
That's because we're all people, that side or this side.
Absolutely. That's why we have to be kind to them.
Yep, exactly. And then that's why we need to be kind in this world too, so that we don't carry that with us over. Because I believe we do take parts of our personality with us. And if you're a lifelong jerk, and when you're breathing, you're going to be a lifelong jerk afterwards.
Yeah, sadly. Sadly, but there's always hope. There's always hope.
Always hope.
So what do you have anything that you would like to say here at the end? Anything you'd like to talk about?
Well, first of all, thank you.
It's never really the end, you know what I'm saying?
Sure, it's one door closes when another one opens. Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you for having me on. It's been a fun conversation. I'm hoping that when we're done here, anybody who's watching will put out positive energy for the world right now. I don't know about you, but I've really felt like crawling under a rock the past few months, and just feeling the world's energy or everybody's energy. And so I would, after we're done here, I hope everybody watching can put out some positivity and some good energy to everybody who needs it. There's a lot of people hurting right now, and I would just say, let's do that.
Beautifully said. Beautifully said. I think that's very important. Many of us have taken little breaks. I'm definitely on a break right now.
Yeah. Oh, and one more thing too is next Saturday evening, June 13th, I'll be hosting a panel discussion with the guys from the Permanence film documentary, and that's going to be a Facebook Live event. And so next Saturday at 8, if you know the guys in this group, it's going to be fun. I've got some silly things planned for the for the discussion. So I think it's going to be a fun chance to get to know all the guys, more personally, and we're going to have some fun. We're going to talk about their film, and various other things, not just the paranormal, but just life. But I think it's going to be a fun conversation, and I'm really looking forward to that film coming out. That's going to be awesome. And then also, have you heard anything about the Calls to Us documentary by James Warren?
No.
Look that up.
Okay.
He's got trailers. Calls to Us, yeah, documentary. So I've had the honor of being in that film. I got to screen it, and I'll say it was awesome, and I think people are really going to enjoy that documentary when it comes out. We don't know when it's going to come out yet. Like a lot of things, everything's kind of on hold. But that's one thing I want to mention too. That big shout out to James and Diana Warren for their work on that documentary, and I was just glad to be a part of it. It's about a location, and there's a lot of mediums that they had do remote viewing or on location readings, and it blew my mind. So it's something that I think people enjoy when that comes out. But yeah, next Saturday, look us up. It's called Field Notes Q&A session with the Permanent Film documentary crew, and there's a Facebook event, and you can find it on my page or the League of Extrasensory Gentlemen. You can find it there. But we'll have a fun conversation there for sure.
And that's Saturday when?
June 13th.
Saturday, June 13th. League of Extrasensory Gentlemen. I was going to ask you about that, so I'm so glad you brought it up. Yeah, it was really, really, really fun talking to you. Thank you so very much, Pete. And thank you for all the work you do, from taking care of those brides to hanging out in that beautiful town. And I know that I will see you again. So
And indeed. Thank you so much for having me on, and wish you, well wishes, and be safe and healthy, and hopefully we'll talk soon.
you too. Bye-bye. Goodbye, everybody. Have a good Saturday. Go outside, turn your TV off.